Jaws is undoubtedly one of the most famous films in history. From its suspenseful scenes, incredible camera work, and iconic scoring, it's certainly a movie we've all at least heard of. It currently stands as my favourite film of all time, though I still have many movies I need to watch that could dethrone it. Even with that though, Jaws would still rank pretty highly on my list of great films. But why? What has kept Jaws this good even 50 years later? I mean, its influence is still being seen today. Well, let's uncover the true reason on why Jaws is still a masterpiece. To understand why Jaws is as good as it is, we must first understand the production behind it. In the mid-70s, Richard Zanuck and David Brown bought the rights to Peter Benchley's 1974 novel titled Jaws. Originally, Steven Spielberg was not the first choice of director, but he was ultimately chosen to oversee an adaptation of the novel. At the time, Spielberg was 27, and Jaws would go on to be his fourth film in his ridiculously stacked filmography. He would also enlist the help of Benchley himself to write the first draft of the screenplay. To make the scenes with the shark, the film crew built a huge 25-foot mechanical creature to use in the ocean, but we all know how that plan turned out. You see, Spielberg originally intended to show the shark much more, and he thought that it would work because when the machine was tested in pools and lakes, it worked just fine. But as soon as it was placed in the ocean, the salt began to eat away at some of the shark, which led to it constantly breaking down. This meant that the original plan of showing the shark had to be scrapped, and the team had to get a little creative. Spielberg opted to hide the shark's full body for around 3/4 of the film, until the very end, which, oh don't worry, we'll get to that in a moment. The whole movie is 2 hours and 4 minutes long, and the shark is only on screen for about 4 of those minutes. So we only see the literal poster child of this franchise for 5% of its entire film. But it really does work in its favour. A key thing to note when crafting a monster story like this is to not give the danger away all at once. You've got to reveal tiny snippets of it, a little glimpse here, a little glimpse there, all until you're finally ready to show the beast in its full glory. This, combined with John Williams' terrifying score, builds tension for the great fish, just enough to leave you both scared and curious at the same time. Like you want to see more of this creature, but no more bloodshed. It's an incredible technique that, if done correctly, builds so much anticipation for your story. But the shark in the production really isn't the only important thing to Jaws' success. I'm honestly surprised I haven't mentioned a single one of the characters in this movie yet. Brody, Hooper and Quint are seriously some of my favourite characters in all of cinema. Martin Brody is the police chief of the small island of Amity, which is where the story takes place. He was played by Roy Scheider, and he gives us an incredible performance. Before the events of the film, Brody moved from the busy and hectic streets of New York to the quiet and peaceful tourist village of Amity. He moved with his wife and 2 kids, and throughout the movie he has to deal with stress, grief, guilt, and a terrible fear of the ocean. He is the first to discover the severed arm that washed up on the beach, and upon looking closely, he came to the conclusion that Chrissie, that was the person whose arm it was, died due to a shark attack. To prove this was the case, they asked Matt Hooper, a marine biologist and shark expert, if the girl was attacked. Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss, is a very intelligent man, but is also seemingly the comic relief of the film. This is not a bad thing though, as he does have a function in the story outside of just being funny. He and Brody are the ones who end up going out to kill the shark, but without a boat, how would they get out to sea? I kid you not, Sam Quint might just be my favourite character in all of fiction. This man is just so intriguing and I'm captivated by every scene he's in. He fought in the Second World War and survived the USS Indianapolis incident, which led to his unbridled hatred for sharks. He then dedicated his entire life to hunting the creatures, which is evident by the trophies hung on his walls. Not only that, but he has one of the best character introductions of all time, right up there with Jack Sparrow and Darth Vader. Quint, who is brilliantly played by Robert Shaw, is the captain of the Orca, which is the boat that the trio used to catch the shark. But their personalities, while incredible in their own way, aren't the real reason why these characters help the film. It's because of the way they're written. Spielberg and the writers build sympathy for Brody, so that you end up rooting for him. He's never really shown in a bad light, only as a person trying to do his best and having several bad days. Hooper is shown to be kind and sympathetic, as he visits Brody when he's at his lowest. This also provides for probably the funniest joke in the entire film.
But you want to let that breathe for... Nothing.
Quint is proven to be determined and courageous, and while I suppose you can make a case for him being arrogant and unlikable, his Indianapolis speech really hooks you in and makes you want to see more of this character. The pun is intended. Often in monster movies, the director/writer doesn't really take the time to flesh out the characters, and they just put them in there because they have to. I remember watching a video that explained how, in the recent Godzilla movies by Legendary, the human characters are boring and uninteresting, and I quote, "As soon as the camera cuts to them, you're waiting for it to cut away." And as much as I love Godzilla as a franchise, I can't help but agree with this statement. Jaws, however, not only takes its time behind the scenes, but also in the scenes to flesh out the characters, give them a personality and make them likeable. This is a huge reason why Jaws sticks out among monster movies. The film isn't just about a monster. It's about real and flawed people trying to stop a monster. Of course, no Jaws analysis would be complete without a thorough praising of John Williams' incredible score. Everyone is born knowing those two notes. Da-da. I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not, but I think the Jaws theme is the most iconic, most well-known theme that John Williams has ever composed. It's just insane to me that this man can make history with a C and an E. But enough of that. Let's get into why this score elevates the movie and the scenes within it. First of all, I should point out that for the first half of the final conflict, there is absolutely no music whatsoever. Just the eerily quiet sounds of the sea, and Quint screaming. That's another thing. The whole film is filled with the sounds of the ocean, which makes sense for a movie set in and around the sea, but it really does add up. Anyway, the fact that there's no music in this scene makes it so much scarier, even though it does happen in broad daylight. The silence is just so loud, and if I were to rank every death in this movie from least to most scary, this would probably be at the top. But not just from Quint's perspective, from Brody's too. Imagine, you've only just met this guy, but he's clearly got some stories to tell. He's ambitious and yet a bit mad, but you start to enjoy his company, when all of a sudden he's being torn apart by the very thing he was trying to kill. All you can hear are the breaking of bones, cries of pain, and gentle waves lazily throwing themselves at the hull of your broken boat. Scary, isn't it? But silence isn't always the way forward. Chrissie's death, which is the first death that we see in the film, begins with a curious harp that leads into low, gravelly strings humming that familiar tune in the background as we draw closer to the woman. Then it stops, just as we go from underwater to above. It's just like the book, we're constantly switching perspectives from the shark to Chrissie. Back we go, as we get closer and closer, until... Sudden and piercing strings that echo the realization that something is wrong. Then it all comes crashing down. The whole soundscape becomes a crescendo of cruel strings, thrashing, and terrible pleas for help. It's monumental, and this isn't the only time this happens either. Alex Kittner's death has music that reflects the character's thoughts. Everything begins happy and dandy with virtually no music at all, just the peaceful chimes of the sea with happy and playful conversation from the families on shore. Then we cut to Alex, who is playing with his friends in the ocean. Still no music. Then, just like Chrissie, we get a nice POV shot of the shark, drawing closer and closer, same two notes. Then Alex gets taken under the water, and we swiftly get that iconic dolly zoom with a shocked and cautious look on Brody's face, which is when we get a growing and sudden sound that reflects Brody's first thought, being, what was that? Now, if you still don't believe me that this score helps the impact of the film significantly, then just watch the video listed in the description, and then come back to me. Needless to say, John Williams is an absolute genius, and just like in every picture he works on, he doesn't just write music, he tells a story with it. It's no controversy to say that Jaws is iconic. It's scary, intriguing, and most of all, compelling. It's a movie that I would highly recommend watching if you haven't already, and honestly, even if you have, it's not 2 hours of your day that you'd waste, so go and watch it. Jaws is one of those movies that was made to last from the start, and even though it had pretty troubled production, well-written characters, clever scoring, and a compelling narrative make me believe that Jaws was, is, and always will be a masterpiece. Thank you. Hey, thanks for sticking around until the end. This is my first time doing a video essay, and I've got plenty more to come. That is if you enjoy them. Let me know if you do, and if so, I'm happy that you're content with listening to me waffling on about random topics like this. You may have noticed by now that I made this video to coincide with Jaws' 50th anniversary. So, happy 50th, Jaws. Funnily enough, I originally intended to release this video on Boxing Day, as that's when I thought Jaws initially released. That's not entirely untrue, because that was when it was released in the UK. But then I found out it originally came out on the 20th of June 1975. I found this out on the first week of July. I'll let you do the maths. Also, voice reveal. I don't really know what you expected me to sound like, but this is it. Anyway, drop a like if you enjoyed and consider subscribing. I'm only a small channel and hey, every little helps. Make sure to stay out of the water this summer, and cheers.